Welcome to Sessions with Dr. Bombay. So now you may have seen in the past where I've done breakdowns of mixes and things like that. However, we never talk much about the secret and the sauce, and that is the production. Okay, so the first thing we always want to do is draw some inspiration from somewhere or someone. This particular piece, my inspiration came from one of our own, Mr. Propane Oaklane, who did a parody. I found myself inspired and challenged to sort of try to duplicate that success. So with this particular one, this was a track that was laid out for a video intro, or basically a channel intro for Miss T.P. Her channel is Black Lounge Entertainment. So we wanted to take something in the mind of metal or heavy metal to do this particular track. So let me tell you, I know a lot of times you think as far as, maybe you are a producer or maybe you just make beats, and a lot of times you get caught up into, you're stuck in one genre of what you're doing. So how can I possibly make a rock track or jazz or something else when I'm not that familiar? If you just simply, maybe you're just into hip hop. Well, I'm going to tell you, it's like what you do with everything else. The basis of the song is going to start with the percussion, the drums. So definitely that's where you're going to be with things. Now, we call this one the T.P. kit, but really it's more of a Abbey Roads thing, like 70s regular basic drum kit. So, we want to start with the drums. Regular 4/4 time rock beat, and drop it down, and then we can build the rest of the song from there. So our beat, we just basically regular drum beat with a fill on the 8-bar, on the 4th actually. And then, we like to take this concept. Now the next thing we want to figure out is, well, what are the elements of a rock song? Well, we're going to have guitars, definitely, all day long. We're going to have possibly some synth leads, synth strings, things like that, all the elements. I mean, if you're not certain, you can just pull up a few songs on social media and just try to identify the instruments that you're hearing and go from there. Now, of course, I wanted to have a melody. I actually started with the guitars on this one, but I'm going to work in reverse to make it easier. So I needed something for the song to ride on, as far as we need a chord progression to kind of give us our basis. Now, with that said, most of these rock songs, the chord progressions are 4, 5, and 1. What that basically means for the layman, if you have a key of a song, say for instance you're in the key of C, okay, no sharps, no flats, just C, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, 1 octave. So the first note of that chord is a C, of that scale is a C. The 4th note is a F. The 5th note is a G. So my progression is going to start on the 4th. So it's going to be 4, F, 5, G, 1, C. If you're in the key of C. This particular track is not in C. So what we did, we have our beat, and then we just simply, this is a clav sound. Now, this isn't heavily heard through the song, but I knew it would be somewhere, needed for the intro. But it did give me the basis of my song. And then that's how, from here, we just build on up. Now, guitars, right? Okay. This is another thing that's kind of out of my reach. I'm not a guitarist, okay? I don't play guitars. I've held a few. I've tried, to mess around, but it's not my thing. However, it's not always, again, knowing the genre or knowing how to play a particular instrument. It's just knowing the instrumentation. That's what a producer does. You just need to know where things should lay. Now, this particular track, there are 3 guitars, actually. So I knew I was going to need, a nice shredder. I was going to need a lead, and I was going to need another, something with some overdrive effect on the guitar. All right, so I have 3 giving me my layers in this particular instruments. Now, the guitars in heavy metal music, they use what are called power chords. Generally, it is the 1st and the 5th of the scale. So it's 2 notes. And then the 3rd note is the 1st stuck on top, right? Sometimes they'll use the 6th of the scale, and that's a power chord 6th, I believe. Again, we just need to know music theory. We don't need to know how to actually play an instrument. But see, the thing is, with what you're using here, let's go to the mixer. I call these Fenders. So we're using the Sunburst, which, and by the way, this is Machina by Native Instruments that we're using here. So with our guitars, let's solo those out. Oh, and one other thing. I always like to start with, as you see here, the chorus of the song. We start with the chorus because simply it is the meat of the song, the loudest part, the central. Now from here, I'll show you later how we break this down into the individual parts to give us our song structure. That's more along the lines of getting us pre-arranging is what I like to call that. But back to the mix. So we have here our 3 guitars. Now, hearing them all together, we're basing everything off the hook. You can hear. So let me see, we muted everything out. Let's just bring in the ballad. We're following the same chord progression. And then we bring in guitar 1, which is Zal Shredder. Now, for those of you that are into Native Instruments Machina, you literally, if you just want to use regular guitar sounds and you're not, Guitar Rig 6, you can add on. And we're going to take this back out. I just wanted to show you for demo purposes. You have a lot of presets here with different amps and different effects that you can just apply, and it'll give you an all-around sound already prepackaged, and then you can just tweak that out to taste. So we have our rock, and then we have some overdrive here. That gives us our layered basses, and then, of course, that's everything you're hearing together. So when you hear that track playing back, this is everything. So I played all of this by hand. It's not any guitars, but like I said, with the right simulator, you definitely can get a lot of sound out of what you're doing. So back, we're on our beat. Of course, this is the hook. Start over. Now, another element of the rock track is always, we're going to have is the keyboard soloist. It's a lot of notes for sometimes keyboard solos. Now, I couldn't the thing is only a minute long, so there was no time to do an actual solo. So we kind of had to just get that going like right off the gate, as far as it's not a solo, but it's more so it's soloing in a sense. These were our synth sounds. They're calling this one Jump. I think more so probably because it has that Van Halen song, that Jump, that something like that. I don't remember the chords exactly, but so yeah, we have our 2 synth sounds. Well, it's supposed to be 2 here, or perhaps not. Okay, let's go to. There's literally a second sound here. I lied to you not. I don't know why it's not playing. Let's see if we can get that to reload. Maybe there's a problem with it loading. I don't know. Sometimes, these are computers. You're going to run into errors from time to time, but you get the gist. What do they call that sound? Jitter walk? Okay, let's get it plugged back in and see if we can. All right, how does that sound? There we go. So, yeah, my sound just didn't load. That sound is piercing. But the good news with that, it punches through the mix. I have it pretty low on the Mixdown. We're not going to do the Mixdown today. We're just talking about production. So definitely, again, on the hook. So that would be our synth sounds, our strings. And of course, wait a minute, there's another sound here somewhere. Oh, we have another string section. I like, just basically legato strings that we were using for that. Let's go ahead and... just basic, like kind of a brassy string, but together, Again, it's all about layers and effect. Now, of course, we used an M bass amped. We got to have a bass. Rock definitely has bass, believe it or not. I know a lot of it is more so centered in the mid-range area, but you definitely have your bass. Now, again, I don't play a bass. In theory, I don't. But, hey, again, we got to use what we got. So with this, we're using, like I said, a Marshall amp bass. Again, guitar rig on native instruments. You also have a lot of effects for bass. And, of course, you have your regular settings here that you can change. I ain't going to lie. I like a lot of the sounds. I more so like them dry. I'll process it more during the Mixdown. Hopefully you can hear that. So just regular little syncopated, little bass riding the groove. Now that's pretty much, I think we covered all of the, we covered all of the instruments. So together, when you have the whole thing playing, pretty much this is your hook. So that rides. Now the thing is, when I said earlier, we're talking about pre-arranging. So this is where we start. We always start with the hook. Loudest part of the song, it's where all instruments exist. Then we can strip this down. Now we go here to intro. Now you notice you only see some of the things lit up. We're not going to have the strings. Well, we could have the strings, I guess, on the beginning, but I didn't do that this time. Hey, who knows? So we're going to have, in this particular pattern, for the first half, we have the lead guitar, and then we have the overdrive that comes in, and then on the last four of the beat for our intro. So then we have the last four of our beat. Now that intro is setting us up to come into the song. Okay. So what would the intro sound like if we did have that string on there? It's not even programmed. Now see, it's too much. Now, I could have brought that in on the fourth beat. But then again, we want the intro to be a build-up, but we don't want it to overpower where it sounds like the hook. Because remember, the intro is getting ready to drop you off into, it's basically the setup for the first verse. So we're coming in, first verse. This is where that would be, where you hear me singing the lyrics. I'm not going to sing here, it's early, and my voice is deep this morning. So for, the first verse, clav is in all the way through. The bass is in all the way through. My guitars, I have my my leads, and then my overdrive comes in on the last half. That's building it up. That's preparing us for the second verse, which is basically, now second verse is going to be more instruments. So my strings are here, and then on the second half, you hear my send lead comes in. This is getting me ready to go back to where the chorus. That's everything in the song is going to come here. Like I said, it's the loudest part of the song. Everything's included. And then I took it to an outro. This wasn't a full song. And my outro is just basically same thing as the chorus. A lot of times I'll go here and strip out some drums maybe. I do this on a lot of other tracks where the drums will just break all the way down to where you're just left with the instruments. But in this particular song, it's a rock track, so it wasn't gonna, we weren't going to strip it down. We wanted that full blare in your face music to be all the way through. So here, as you can see, we built all the components of the song. We have, this is 8-bar verse, 2A. This is like 16 bars for the verse. 8 on the intro, and we have an 8-bar hook and an 8-bar outro, and that pretty much concludes the song. Now, of course, if you're using multiple verses, you can go back to the same 2. I like to make variations of these verses. For instance, if it comes back off of the hook, I usually bring it back in with the second verse minus the snare drum to bring you in quiet. It's the focus of the song. I want to build you up again. So we want to tone the drums down a little bit and then build you back up slowly and then get you ready to go into the second hook. And then from there, from the hook or pre-chorus into the outro, and then we break everything down, letting you know the song is ending. And then from here, if you do use Machinist native instruments, you pretty much can do your arranging here. And this is your song. Intro, verse 1A, verse 2A, chorus, and an outro. Like I said, this particular piece was only 1 minute long. So if you listen, you can hear all the components of everything I did. Now, right now, it's not mixed like I did. You heard, doesn't sound like the finished product. But see here, we're just doing the arranging. We're not thinking about mix right now. You will think about mix in the sense of, hey, there might be some things, you can adjust some levels just to give yourself an idea of what it sounds like. But this, I pretty much can imagine what it's going to be like in the mix. All this is going to get cleaned up. As you can see, that's 1 minute long, and then it builds up. Out solo, send solo. And that pretty much takes it on out from there. So that takes us right from there, Now, of course, there's the Mixdown. I don't want to go too deep into that. I just want to show you, let's see. Oh, this is the I Am God track, so we don't want that. And, of course, I'm a Cakewalk fan. I don't use Pro Tools. Pro Tools is fine. It's not about which DAW, digital audio workstation, that you use. It's all a matter of preference, and a lot of people say, oh, well, I have this one or I have the other one. It's not even about that. It's pretty much like, you have a pair of pliers, One pair of pliers has a red handle, the other one has a green handle, and one has a black handle. They're all pliers, though. So remember, the first thing we want to do as we open up the DAW is we want to start, well, number one, you're going to import all of your audio files into this particular device. Now here we have all of my vocals. They're in the purple here. All of these vocals are routed to vocal buses here. So for instance, my soloed out vocal, as you can see. The time is right if you want to spend the night. So that lead and that sub lead all go to this one vocal bus here. From here, they go to a main vocal bus where all of the vocals go to. All right, and then from there, they go into the premix channel, and from here on into the master bus where we have, of course, Chris Lord Algie's Mixdown plugin. We have some stereo imaging that we added, and of course, we have a limiter on the bus. That's right, on the mix bus, and of course, my frequency analyzer. We're not here today to talk about the actual mix. We're more so talking about the workflow. So again, on down to We have our drum. Well, let's see here. Understand a lot of this isn't central on the screen either. So let's move this out of the way. So here we have all of our drums that are central here. So again, all of these drums that you hear on the song, let's go ahead and let's mute this. All the drums that you hear on the song, right? That's our intro, right? Let's go ahead on and forward it up a bit and go to the, let's go to the hook of the song to get kind of more so. There we go. So now all of our drum sounds, where do they go? All of our drum sounds go to one drum bus, right? One drum bus. I got to remember to centralize this because OBS does not record the whole screen. So one drum bus here, center. And where does that drum bus go? It goes to a drum solo bus, which takes us to an instrument bus where all instruments come together. And from there into the premix. And from there, where? Into the master bus. So as you can see, everything has a flow. We start with our instrument channels into our independent buses into our collectives. All of our vocals are here in a collective. All of our instruments are here in a collective. So as essentially in the end, we're dealing with two tracks, vocals and instruments, right? So pretty much every bus, and let me remember to centralize that. I keep forgetting OBS. Let me see if I can drag that over here. Yeah, that's right. When you record with this thing, it doesn't record the middle. So our synths all ended up here. Our string, although it's only one sound, it has its own bus. Again, I like to have multiple buses. You know, that way I can apply effects independently depending on the type of sound. There are no horns in this particular song. And then there we go. It's our guitar bus. Remember our bass. Now, if I want to hear all of the instruments as a collective, again, the workflow, all instrument buses go to the main instrument bus here. Let me bring that back central. That's right here. So if I mute that instrument bus and mute the main vocal bus, you hear nothing.
It's right for T.P. The time is right for you and me.
So now the harmonies on the vocals, there's three harmony deals here. I don't know if you can see this. Hopefully you'll be able to see it. 3 harmonies to your left of the screen here, if we can get this to roll for us. We're at the far left, so hopefully OBS is picking this up. So our 3 harmonies go where? They all come down to one central bus. Remember, so again, spread out all of your instruments, do your gain staging, and then take your instrument groups and put them on the independent buses. So I know right here.
The time is right for T.P. The time is right for you and me.
So all of my vocal bus, all of my harmonies are where? 3 tracks, all to one bus. Makes it easy. I can adjust the levels of the harmonies, get it nice just the way I want, and it's all here. So if I want the harmonies to be louder, I can turn them up independently. If I want the vocals to come down independently, if I want all the vocals to be affected, I can go here and turn the vocals down. I kind of rushed through this mix. I didn't really, again, I did the whole track and everything from full production in about 2 hours. So I didn't take the time to tweak this thing. It wasn't like it was really serious. So we did what we did, right? So
the time is right. The time is right for T.P. The time is right for you and me.
If I was to redo this mix a bit, I would probably bring the instruments up. They were there, but
the time is right for T.P. The time is right.
And that's a difference. I'm gonna tell you, sometimes in the mix, depending on how things go, like in hip hop, the instruments are always slightly lower than the vocal. The vocal stands out. in this particular piece in rock, I don't find that to be the same. I find that the instruments can even, take over to a degree. But it seems like they should be on equal footing. That's why you don't mix with your eyes. You mix with your ears. Me, I was mixing with my eyes, and that's why the vocals are slightly out a little head of the mix. So again, workflow. One more time. All instruments down to their independent buses. All independent buses to their grouping buses here into your premix, which on the premix, again, it's just a C6 multiband compressor, and I use a Kramer tape simulator. That's right. I'm analog, old school. I like to have that. I will add a tape effect hiss into the track to kind of give it that warm, real feel. Okay, we're not here to talk about the mix. Now, you can go a step further using auxiliary buses, which I have here. For instance, plate verb, hall verb, delay, and an extra auxiliary bus for whatever I want to put there. And you can kind of use effects sends to send your effects if you just want all of your effects in one place and not on each channel, which isn't a bad idea because simply put, adding a ton of effects onto a channel will weigh down your CPU. Now, this particular machine has a very high processor, so we usually don't have a problem with that. But again, you want to conserve some of your headroom for your memory and just kind of bust it down. So again, that's pretty much it. That's the workflow. We took it all the way from composing the song, conceptualizing what we want to make, finding out about the elements of the song, putting it all together, the concept, the pre-arrangement, the arrangement, and then into the mix and assigning everything all to buses in our workflow, consolidating what we're doing here, and then we end up with
The time is right for T.M.K. The time is right for you and me. The time is right for T.M.K. The time is right for you and me. The time is now for you to get to the show. The time is now for you to go. I gotta see T.M.K. Black lounges for you and me. Thank you, Cleveland. Good night.
And there you have it. That is the Mixdown and Dr. Bombay's workflow. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for taking the time to actually peek into the side to see the secret and the sauce of my workflow. And that is how I do it. And that's how every track gets done in the exact same way. Now, we didn't go all into the plugging into the universal soul to pull some of these ideas out, but that's on a whole nother level. I can't really teach you music composition. That's something you're just going to have to, practice up on and learn how to do on your own till you feel more comfortable. But you have to have a good workflow. It makes things a lot easier. You can take an idea to finished product in a matter of hours, even including a video like I did on this one yesterday. So I leave you all there. Thank you for hanging out, and with the traditional words of peace and tranquility. Namaste.
The time is now for you to get to the show. The time is now for you to go. I gotta see